Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Exciting times at the Australian Open. So today in this video we're going to talk about the fourth round matches on the men's side, and we're going to preview who is going to play the quarterfinals, and at the end I'm going to give you my predictions who I think is going to win the respective matches in the quarterfinals and why. So let's get into it then. As you know, Rafa Nadal has beaten Nick Kyrgios in tonight's fourth round match. It was the last match of the day. Stan Wawrinka has managed to edge out Daniil Medvedev, which is a big win for him. Sasha Zverev went convincingly through to and has beaten Andrei Rublev. And from yesterday we already know that Denis Sandgren has beaten Fognini, Federer has beaten Marton Fucsovics, Raonic has come through against Cilic, and Djokovic against Schwartzman. So we're going to have a Nadal team quarterfinal, Wawrinka and Zverev. The winners of these two are going to meet in the semi-finals. And then you have Sandgren against Federer and Raonic and Djokovic, with the winner of these two matches also meeting in the semi-finals. So, in case you've watched my previous video, you know Nadal's first three matches, I've talked about that already. In the fourth round, you can see Nadal defeats Nick Kyrgios. Interestingly enough, this is the exact same score he's beaten Kyrgios in Wimbledon second round last year. 6-3 first set with a break, loses one serve in the second, loses the second set 6-3, and then both set 3 and 4 go to a tiebreak, and Kyrgios doesn't quite manage to maybe bring his best tennis. Nadal gets a little bit fortunate and also plays pretty good and edges out the tiebreaks. So I think one of the key points was on Nadal, second serve percentage win rate. So it was over 60%, 64%. I think that really helped him a lot not to get broken many times. He's got broken only twice. So that was really important for him to keep his serve and not to lose his serve against Kyrgios, because Kyrgios can play incredibly good service games. It also can be very solid from the baseline, so this was a tough match. Maybe if you watch tennis for a long time, you know that there is a sort of a rivalry between Nadal and Kyrgios, not just on the court but off the court, because Kyrgios used to have some interesting, let's put it like that, interesting manifestations on court. Nadal has criticized that a little bit. Kyrgios has criticized Nadal a little bit, but considering how this match went and how Nick Kyrgios presented himself during this tournament, I think that's admirable. He's shown a very positive side of his, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see that kind of Nick Kyrgios in the future again. I hope he will keep it up. Next match for him, he's going to play Thiem, and Thiem played Gael Monfils. Very solid match from Thiem. I think this was his best and most convincing match so far he's played against the highest ranked opponent. He had a 5-love lead against Monfils from the previous meetings. Nevertheless, Monfils can be a dangerous player, and Thiem has shown really good tennis today, and he's definitely going to be a big threat against Rafa in the quarterfinals. So Sasha Zverev is another player. I actually thought Andrei Rublev is going to beat Zverev, but Zverev came out the more solid player. He didn't really make too many errors on court. He was hitting his forehand as well very, very well. So Zverev was not making too many double faults today. He was not hitting too many errors. His forehand was working well. Rublev was sometimes a little bit flat. So it looked like Zverev was really the dominant player today. it's going to be interesting how he fares in the next match against Wawrinka. And that is a good time to move on to the next match, Stan Wawrinka. So, Stan the man, he's a big match player, already a 3-time Grand Slam champion. So we know from the past that he is the kind of guy who can get his best out when he's playing big matches against big players in the biggest of stages, and this certainly qualifies. Medvedev, the number 4 seed, Wawrinka being 2-1 down, managed to come back, edged out the 4th set in a tie-break, and then won the 5th set pretty convincingly. Stan has spent over 11 hours on court. He was, let's say, lucky in the 3rd round because he is now retired in the middle of the 2nd set. Wawrinka's 1st and 2nd round matches were also very tough. So I think Wawrinka has reached the stage where he has really played himself into the tournament, and him playing Zverev, that's definitely going to be a very tough match for both players, I think. So, as we know, Tennys Sandgren has beaten Fognini, Raonic has beaten Cilic. Both have been playing super well. Raonic hasn't dropped a single set so far. I'm going to talk about the lineup just when I get to my predictions. So Nadal is going to play Thiem, as mentioned before. Nadal has a 9-4 lead against Thiem. Interestingly enough, from the 13 matches they've played against each other, 12 have been on clay. And Nadal leads 8-4. So that's a pretty clear sign that the king of clay has somebody who can really contend with him on clay. But on hard court, in the 2018 US Open quarterfinal where they've met, Nadal won. That was a thriller. It was a very interesting match because Thiem has won the 1st set back then 6-love, and Nadal in the end managed to edge the match out in a 5th set tiebreak when Thiem missed a smash and lost the tiebreak to 7-5. So I'm not sure how indicative this scoreline is. I think this can go either way. But more on that just in a bit. Zverev against Wawrinka, head-to-head, Zverev leads 2-love. Both matches have been 2 out of 3 set matches. It wasn't a Grand Slam. Zverev won, obviously, the one they played on hard court. So that's their history. Federer against Sandgren, pretty easy to to review. They've never played before. And Djokovic against Raonic, it's a 9-0 lead to Djokovic, and on hard courts it's 4-love. So this is an interesting match because Djokovic is in a stage of his career when he's maybe serving more aggressively than he used to. He's trying to get more out of his service games than he generally does. And Raonic, he somehow got to the stage where he's putting everything together that seems to be working well for him. He's serving well, keeping the first serve percentage relatively high up, and his first serve is so big, so powerful, and so well directed that it causes a lot of problems to opponents. And Djokovic is probably the best returner of serve we have in the game right now. He can neutralize great serves so well, not just by putting the balls back into play, but making sure that those returns go in deep. And servers who serve big, they have hardly finished their service motion, and the ball is already back at their feet, somewhere around the baseline. So the key thing, I think, in this match is going to be the serve-return game between Raonic and Djokovic. If for some reason Raonic will manage to be as effective with his serve against Djokovic than he has been against other opponents, and Djokovic might be a little bit more in trouble than he's used to. On the other hand, if Djokovic manages to neutralize the Raonic serve, I think that it's going to be a straightforward match for Djokovic. So, my pick, Nadal team, I'm picking Nadal. I think Nadal has been the more consistent player throughout the ATP Cup, even though he didn't look like being at 100%. But he was very competitive, and he lost only to Goffin and then to Djokovic in the final. Team was looking very erratic. He doesn't seem to be on a super good form. He lost a lot of matches at the ATP Cup. Coming in here, the first match he really played well is against Monfils. And usually the last match can be a very good indicator of form. I think Thiem is playing well. But if both players are playing at their peak and both players are playing very well, I'm still gonna slightly lean toward Rafa on winning this one. So, semi-final prediction, the encounter between Zverev and Wawrinka. So this is really a tough one. As I said before, Zverev leads the lineup to love, but they've never met in a Grand Slam. I think this lineup and this match is really going to depend a little bit more on Zverev than on Wawrinka. We know what Wawrinka can bring to the court and what kind of player he can be. Very tough, very gritty, and he's gonna fight to the end. And especially if he's playing well, then he has always a good chance to beat anybody, actually. On the other hand, I think Zverev, considering the fact how well he can serve and how good his backhand is as well, and if he's feeling confident, the way he can accelerate on his forehand, the way he moves for a guy as big he is, I think this should be Zverev's game and he should win the match. Although, even though I picked Rublev to beat Zverev, because I thought if Rublev can put enough pressure on him, he's gonna crack. Rublev didn't play that well, and Zverev didn't crack at all. So it's very hard to predict. I'm gonna pick Zverev. Let's see how it goes. Sandgren against Federer. I think Federer is the heavy favourite, so I'm picking Federer. Raonic against Djokovic, I've talked about that before. I think Djokovic is going to be able to neutralise Raonic's serve just enough to edge him in maybe 4 sets, maybe even less. So let me know what you think. Give me your predictions of the quarterfinal matches. Do you agree or you don't agree? And as well, if you like the content, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time.